Welcome to the Long COVID podcast with me, Jackie Baxter. I am really excited to bring you today's episode. Please do check out the links in the show notes where you can find the podcast website, social media and support group, as well as a link to buy me a coffee if you are able. You should not rely on any medical information contained in this podcast and related materials in making medical, health-related or other decisions. Please do consult a doctor or other health professional. I love to hear from you. If you've got any suggestions or feedback or just want to say hey, then please do get in touch. I really hope you enjoy this episode, so here we go. Welcome to this episode of the Long COVID podcast. Today I'm delighted to be joined by author, coach and long COVID recoverer Sam Munslow. We're going to chat about all sorts of stuff related to her book, Will Covive, as well as her experiences with COVID and reflections on that. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
So would you mind giving a little bit more of an introduction to yourself and what you do?
Okay, so I am a leadership and mental health coach. My company is Blue Monkey Coaching and I can be found on LinkedIn mostly. My website's still work in progress. I work a lot with companies, especially at the moment with their well-being, but I also do one-to-one coaching with people who struggle with stress, anxiety. It's often work-related. And then since my long COVID experience, I work with people with long COVID to help them get past their mental struggles that go alongside the physical symptoms.
Yes, because I think what we've all discovered is that there are many, many sides to long COVID and that a lot of the physical can lead to mental and also the other way around as well, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, what we say to ourselves, we create.
Yeah. So could we talk a little bit about your experiences with COVID and obviously then how that progressed into long COVID? Because you got ill quite early on, didn't you?
I did, yes. 5th of April 2020. Got a bit short of breath. My husband noticed it before I did. And as the evening progressed, he said, you're sounding really quite bad now. You're not speaking in proper sentences. So I phoned the doctor who said, you don't need to go to the doctors. You don't need to do, it sounds like you've got it. We're not really testing people at the moment because we want to keep you away from the system. If it gets so bad you can't say more than a few words, give us a ring. But apart from that, you probably just have a cold, which is what I expected. So I sat on the sofa with my arms around my boys. No isolating from my family. It wasn't even suggested. And then it got drastically worse over the next week or so. And then it carried on for months. I thought it was like a week or two. And then my family have said, no, months of not functioning. Called the paramedics a few times, refused to go to hospital because people weren't coming out at that point. And my husband and boys said, please don't go. So the paramedics very kindly checked in on me. Woke up several times with my husband's face right up against mine because my breathing was so shallow, which must have been horrendous for him. But for me, it didn't feel like I was ill. Yes, I couldn't breathe and I wasn't really getting out of bed in the mornings or the afternoons. But it just felt like I was a little bit under the weather, just a few breathing problems. I didn't feel ill. So I kind of felt like a fake. I could still drink wine in the evening. I could still sit in the garden because remember that beautiful weather that was granted to us while we were in lockdown. So I could still enjoy life. It was just in a very different way.
That's really interesting, isn't it? That is that perspective, how we can sort of think, oh yeah, I'm fine. And looking back on it, or to other people even.
Yeah, I think the thing that helped me see that actually I was quite ill was my family. They kept saying, no, you can't. No, you can't. And no, you're not breathing properly. And then when my husband said, when's the last time you went in the kitchen? When have you last looked at the dishcloth? I have a slight obsession with the dishcloth because he'll clean the tops and then just put this crummy coffee grained thing down to just fester. So I changed the dishcloth every day. I hope I'm not the only person. And he said, do you know, the dishcloth crawls out of the sink every day. And I didn't care. And that's how bad it was. And that's what opened my eyes to, oh, maybe there is something wrong with me.
Yeah. It's, I mean, it was really interesting reading your diary in your book. I mean, looking back, I sort of wish that I had, because it's quite hard to remember what happened when, and how you sort of look back on it and you think about it in different ways than you felt at the time and all of that. But I was struggling to function at all, so the thought of writing anything down was well beyond me. Did you find that it was helping you while you were doing it?
I didn't really notice that I was keeping any kind of a diary. I had to pull together lots of different things. So I'm quite active on social media. And because it was such a new thing, there were a lot of people messaging me, how are you today? What are your symptoms today? So that was my diary. I didn't actually write a physical diary at the time. I would write a couple of things here and there, because I've always written things down. I find it's quite therapeutic. Like you say, just to be able to reflect later. But yeah, like you, there was no way I was going to keep a diary. My brain wouldn't work. I couldn't think of words for a start. That became a standing joke in my family that, you know, oh, you're mixing your worms again, because it was constant. I couldn't remember anybody's name. I didn't know what a bowl was. My husband labelled my toothbrush, so I knew which one was mine, because I couldn't remember that. He even put a post-it on the mirror saying, this is you. But yeah, the diary, when I went back a few months later and collated it all, it was amazing how much was there. And then just asking family and friends as well to just fill in the gaps for me, I could then create a full diary. So it's not fiction, it is genuine. The dates are all genuine, but it took an awful lot of sorting through once my brain started to work a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting. I mean, your experiences had quite a lot in common with my own, and I'm sure a lot of other people will feel the same. But also, yeah, that feeling of looking back on it and reflecting and thinking, how did I think I was okay? I was so far from okay. But at the time, I don't know, you just sort of muddle through, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. You just cope with where you're at. And you very quickly forget what you used to be like, especially with something like COVID, where it's a breathing difficulty. I was focusing on really trying to relax my breathing so it didn't hurt, thinking about the joint pain, the whole host of symptoms that came in. The real me, the previous me, I couldn't remember that anymore. I was very, very focused in the now on just getting through the next hour and the next hour, and then hoping to get to the next day. So yeah, the diary was very useful when I did look back. Eventually, like you say, those reflections, did I really think I was okay? Did I really beat myself up? Things that I'd held for months, the guilt about being such a rubbish parent, and then looking back and going, actually, maybe you need to give yourself permission to have just been at that point, and then almost going back and talking to my former self and saying, it's okay, you had no choice, and asking, what else could you have done? Could you have gone downstairs and watched your son play outside in the garden because he wanted you to? Could you have made it downstairs? Could you have stayed awake if you had gone downstairs? And then, yeah, those kind of things help me see that actually, yeah, I'm maybe being a bit hard on myself.
Yes, absolutely. That kind of hindsight is really, I mean, the things that I wish I'd known at the beginning, like, don't push yourself into exercise straight away. But we didn't think it was a problem at the time, did we?
There was nothing about it. There was no information on how to be. It was new learning for everybody. So even when I phoned my GP weeks, months later, and they said, right, you need to start getting out now and getting some exercise, go for some walks, just do 10 minutes. 10 minutes put me back in bed for 2 weeks. So many things that they said you need to be doing, and things that you shouldn't be doing as well. Even, on the basic, when I first got it, the doctor said, take paracetamol, don't take ibuprofen. And then later they said, you can take ibuprofen. It was all learning. So there's no blame. The doctors didn't understand it, but yeah, definitely it was quite a learning curve for all of us.
It really was, wasn't it? I mean, that's one of the things that I think you with your book, and a lot of other people are doing all sorts of things. And something that I hope anyway, is that people developing long COVID now can benefit from all of the things that we didn't do that we should have done, or all of the things that we wish we'd known at the start.
Yeah. Well, that was the purpose of the book, was so many people were asking me. First of all, they were asking me for all of my symptoms. And then, when did this happen? And when did that happen? So I thought, I'll just write it down. And I wrote it down as a diary. And then as I was writing the diary, I could see the reflections coming out of it that would also be useful. So that's why it's in two parts, essentially. There's the diary and then the reflections and learning. But it's mostly diary, reflections, and then, because I'm a coach, how I then supported people who had the same thing, how I got them to see past their thinking. Because that was the purpose of the book. It was to help other people to avoid all of the misunderstandings that I suffered.
Yeah, definitely. Because in some of the time, it almost felt like you were coaching yourself through it, despite the fact that you'd already done it. You know?
Oh, definitely. It took a long time to get to that point, though. Humanness kicked in, and all of my coaching skills and techniques and understanding all went out the window. All of them. Didn't remember a thing. Just wallowed in self-pity. Poor little me. Until it took me several months to look back and go, oh, maybe practice what you preach a little bit here. So it was really useful for me as well. Like you say, that I learned and I coached myself through the book.
Yeah, I'm sure it's those things that when you're so close to it, all the expertise in the world won't help you because you're so close, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I have a coach now, because even though I'm a coach, every coach needs a coach, because we all have stuff that we can't see.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you talk a lot about this idea of mental self-harming, which sounds quite dramatic. What do you mean by that, and how did you realise it was impacting you?
It is dramatic. It's really dramatic, and it's hideous what we do to ourselves. We are our own worst enemy, biggest critic. It's that voice, that little devil on your shoulder that says, oh, you can't do that. And, oh, you're rubbish at that. And we listen to it, particularly when we're feeling low. If you're feeling great and something happens, then that voice will still kick in and you can shrug it off. If you're feeling low, that's when you sit and you listen to it, and it makes it worse and compounds it. So through all the physical struggles, having that mental voice attacking me as well just made it worse. And that's what I coach. That's what I help people see past. And yet I couldn't see it myself for so long. So yeah, the mental self-harming is that inner voice that picks on us.
Yeah, and when we're ill, and we've been ill for a long time, I guess we're much more susceptible to, well, everything, I guess, aren't we?
Absolutely. If you're mentally feeling low, if you're physically feeling low, you're more likely to feel mentally low as well. And that's when that voice really gets into you.
Yeah, and it can do so much damage on top of everything else, I guess.
Yeah, it can ruin relationships when you start listening to yourself. Because if you've got a partner who's trying to support and hold you up, as I did have, I resented that. I resented everything he had to do until I could stop and say, hang on a second, this isn't treating him fairly. Not appreciating what he's doing, and resenting my boys as well for still being active and demanding. That's what they needed to be. They're in lockdown. The whole world had gone to pot. They needed a bit of stability, and they needed to just be themselves. And there's me squashing it and then beating myself up for it. Vicious circle.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I can totally understand that, because I had the same thing with my partner. He was out running and cycling because that's what we did. And I hated the fact that he could do that and I couldn't. But I also didn't want to stop him doing that, because then I would feel bad about it. So I was kind of damned either way. And then beating myself up about that, which wasn't doing anybody any good.
Great, isn't it, what we do to ourselves?
Exactly.
And that's why it's called mental self-harming, because we really do it. It's, and as soon as you say self-harming, we do think of, oh God, that's a bit harsh. Actually recognize it is harsh what we do to ourselves. And the more that we notice it, the less we have to listen to it. We can't stop it. We can't make it go away, but we can pay less attention to it and not fuel it. And that's the best way forward. Recognizing it first, and then deciding, does this serve me? If it doesn't, why am I listening to this voice?
Yeah, definitely. That devil on your shoulder. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like you I don't know if it's the right word, but it almost seems like you slid into this idea of acceptance and making the most of being you, whatever you looked like at the time, which sounds so positive, because I think, like you say, most of us are still too busy beating ourselves up about things that we can't do. But it was probably much harder at the time than it sounded. What kind of helped you come to that decision?
Waking up, I think, to what I teach other people, what I coach other people through. And it's absolutely, it's acceptance of what I can't change, rather than fighting it. And then the language that I was using as well wasn't helping me. So, I think I referred to it in my book about having good days and bad days. And I mentally created bad days then, when actually they were rest days. They were days when I couldn't physically get up and do things. My body needed rest. And when I accepted that, it was less mentally traumatic. I didn't feel like I was I was all right yesterday. Why am I backstepping? Accepting that I needed those rest times gave me a much more, I don't like the word positive, but in some ways, yes, a more positive outlook, because we can't be positive all the time. And I could be really grumpy while I was accepting it. I'm really unhappy about it, but I didn't fight it.
Yeah, I mean, we do talk a lot about acceptance, and I certainly struggled with it to start with, because I thought, well, I'm not accepting that this is me forever, but that's not really the point. It's this kind of idea that, I don't know, it's not always a linear, obvious path. I mean, you talk about good days and bad days, and having to accept that the rest days are rest days, and that you need those rest days in order to move forward, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Fighting it is the worst thing that we can do. Acceptance brings you back to, how am I now? Where am I now? And that's where you mention about how accepting, making the most of being me, however that looked. That was about me just living in the moment, rather than going back to the past of the grief of what I'd lost, or predicting a future that, whenever we predict the future, we don't go for the best scenario. I'm always going to be like this. I'll never be able to go for a bike ride again. I'll never be able to walk down the stairs without a rest again. I'll never get back into that kitchen and change that dishcloth. All of those things that, if we can live in the now, today I can't, but that's okay. What can I do today? If I can't do those things, what can I do to still enjoy what I'm doing? So my family would come up and they'd sit and play cards with me, or I would love to have read a book. I wasn't able to read at the time. My head had completely gone in that way, but I could look out the window and enjoy. I could sleep. I could catch up on rest that I needed. And instead of resenting having to sleep, I could allow my body what it needed to recover and recharge. That kind of acceptance took away a lot of the mental self-harming, because I took away the predicting the future. I'm not psychic. I don't know when I'm going to get better. I don't know when I'm going to be able to go downstairs again. But at the moment, what can I do to just enjoy now?
Yeah, that making the best of each day as it comes, I guess.
And communicating, that was key. My family needed that as well, because they were, when are you going to be better, Mom? When are you going to be able to come downstairs and do things with us again? And then they could find, what can we do now? Come and sit on my bed, and what can we do now? So, they'd come in and they'd show me their Lego creations, and I'd fall asleep and I'd wake up and they'd be sat there patiently waiting to show me again, because it wasn't a bad thing then. It was just, this is how we are now. It won't always be like this. And we can say now with a lot more confidence, because what I know, I don't know massive about long COVID. I know my experience, I know what I've read, but people do come out of it. I don't know people who are just like this forever. It does get better. Yeah, when I joined a Facebook group, and people were saying, are we ever going to get out of this? Has anyone got better? The only problem with that was when people got better, they left the group. They didn't need to be in it anymore. So we didn't hear their success stories, because they got on with their lives. There's a lot more now that says this isn't permanent. So I think people who have this now can relax more into it and allow it, knowing that it will get better. Whereas 18 months ago, we didn't know. We didn't know if this was a permanent change.
Yeah, and like you say, that, when you stop fighting it, I mean, that was when I started noticing a bit of improvement. Because fighting, it takes so much energy, and energy is what we don't have.
That's very true.
So it's counterproductive, isn't it? But I think there's something in our nature that when something happens, you fight against it because that's what we do. I mean, I think a lot of people will be very envious of your incredibly supportive husband and children. They sound amazing. But, I mean, you mentioned earlier about guilt, and I think a lot of us feel that kind of feeling of being a burden to the people that are around us. And how do we deal with that? Because it's that sort of devil on our shoulder, isn't it?
That's a good question, because there's no way around it. I was a burden on my family. So prior to COVID, I was the one that did most of the cooking, cleaning, washing, getting the boys all sorted for school, making sure everywhere was functioning. My husband did all the building work and the fixing things. He cooked as well, but it was more that he cooked when he wanted to, not that he had to think of 7 meals every single week, and lunches, and make sure we had everything that we needed. So I was a burden. There's no way around that. I definitely was. There was a massive change in our household, and suddenly they lost a mum. They lost 50% of their parent. That was the guilt bit, was, everyone's having to rely on me. Whereas if you flip it and look at it from their perspective, they wanted to help. They wanted me to be better. And when I wasn't, they wanted to be able to do those little things that made my life easier. Yes, they resented it. I'm not going to pretend that our family is one where everybody loved running around after me. And my husband loved getting 3 hours sleep because he was waking up and constantly checking on me. And he did say, I wish you were better because I can't think of meals anymore. I've run out of ideas. And we really got sick of ham and pepper wraps for lunch. That's all we had for months. If anybody now says, do you want a ham and pepper wrap? No, we still have a hatred of those things. Communication, I think, was the big one for us, making sure that we talked about it, and it was okay for them to be resentful. And they weren't resentful of me. It wasn't me personally. They didn't hate what I was doing because I wasn't doing anything. They were resentful of the situation. And that's really, really different. That made a huge difference to us when we could sit down and say, you don't have to always pretend that it's okay. That sometimes you can hate this situation. I hate this situation. You can hate having to go and get me a glass of water when you're trying to watch a film. You can hate having to take the dogs for a walk again because I can't, but actually it's raining and you don't want to. You can hate all of those things. They still need doing, and you can resent it, but talk to me, because it's not about, and it's when we realised this isn't personal. It's not hatred of me. It's not resenting me. It's resenting the situation. It depersonalizes it, and it makes it so that you can speak honestly and openly. And those honest, open discussions just take the strain out of the doing.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. Because it's a totally crap situation for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no way around it. That's absolutely spot on. It is. It's awful. It's crap. And it's temporary. And if you want to come out of it together, being in it together is key. So we all suffered. I actually think my family suffered a lot more than me. I slept through most of it. I was weighted on hand and foot. They ate all the nice things in their house and all the fruit rotted, but they did suffer. They did struggle with it. But yeah, the communication, that's the key thing.
We'll be right back. I'm interrupting myself for a second to tell you about long COVID breathing. The fabulous Vicky Jones and I have teamed up to bring you long COVID breathing. We are both passionate about sharing our expertise and experience of the breath and how incredibly helpful that can be with long COVID. We've worked together to develop a course that is specifically tailored to those with long COVID. It's a 6-week course with 12 sessions, all delivered online. The community feel and learning that we're all sharing is such a joy. To find out more information and to sign up for our courses, workshops and other shorter sessions, please check out the link below, longcovidbreathing.com, or email longcovidbreathing@gmail.com to start your breathing journey with us. Yeah, I mean, certainly. Was it something you were saying in your book about how your husband wasn't sleeping because he was staying awake to check that you were still breathing all night? And I just thought that's, like you say, I mean, that's traumatic for him.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I did realize he was doing that, but I didn't even think about the implications for him. At the time, I was just trying to get some sleep. And as you know, sleep can be sporadic. You hurt all over. You wake up constantly. Insomnia is a real thing with long COVID. So I resented when I woke up and his face was right over mine because my breathing was so shallow. It never occurred to me to look at it from his perspective, which is another really important thing to do, is just see it from somebody else's point of view. Those people who are caring for you, when they look impatient and you feel guilty, they've had enough. It is mentally traumatic for them, especially if you're seriously ill with it. But even if you're not, even if you're not seriously ill, but you're bedbound or you're just not functioning to the same level, it can be absolutely horrendous. And it was only months later, my husband had a bang on his head one night, and I Googled it, as you do. And it said he didn't have to stay awake. He was okay as long as he was still coherent. So he just happily went back to sleep. And I spent one night, probably about 3 hours, lying there listening to him breathing, thinking, crikey, what if he doesn't wake up? What if he goes into a coma? Going down that mental self-harming route again of worst case scenario. And in the morning, I couldn't thank him enough for what he'd done for me for months, because I'd suddenly seen it from the other side. And yeah, it must have been absolutely horrendous for him.
Yeah, and just, yeah, that level of worry over that length of time as well, I guess.
Yeah, so no sleep, looking after two feral children who were also traumatized and supposedly homeschooling, but that didn't happen. Trying to work as well. He had quite a demanding job that COVID had impacted quite seriously. He was exhausted, absolutely exhausted for months. Took him a long time to recover, physically, mentally, emotionally. That's why I think I got off lightly, because I was just ill.
Yeah, it's a different side to it, isn't it? You
Mm.
see everything very, very differently, I think, when you're in the middle of it. And again, I'm very guilty of this. I was so busy thinking about how bad everything is for me, because it is, that I forget that actually things are awful for other people around me as well. My partner's life has changed completely as well. It's not just mine. And just because he can get out for a run and I can't doesn't mean that everything's fine for him.
Yeah, and that's where the communication comes in. I know I'm banging on about communication, but it's the linchpin to families staying together and thriving through it. When I wrote my book, on my husband and my sons proofread it. Well, my boys proofread some of it and then got bored. It wasn't their kind of book. But they came back and said, wow, never thought that you saw it like that. And suddenly they were really getting my perspective, because I was very aware that they were struggling. So I wasn't going to emotionally load my feelings and my mental struggles onto them. So when they read the book and said, we had no idea. And my husband said, I've got a very different take on that chapter. It'd be really interesting, actually, to maybe rewrite the book with extra chapters in from their perspective. It's probably a bit late now, because I think we've forgotten an awful lot of it. But when we did talk about the different chapters, and they'd pull out a paragraph here and there and talk about it from their perspective, it was so different. And it took so much pressure off me, huge amount of pressure, to just hear what they were going through as well, rather than what I was making up in my head. So I know I talk about in one chapter about, I think Oscar was 13 at the time, and he'd made this wonderful Lego contraption. And it was, he's really into engineering. It was a semi-automatic elastic band gun. And it would fire 8 elastic bands in one go, all at dad, obviously, because you show mom, but you shoot dad. And he came into the bedroom when I was sat in bed going, breathe in through your nose, relax your shoulders, breathe out without coughing. I was just concentrating on breathing. And he came in and went, Mom, I've adapted it. It's now fully automatic. And I just put my hand up and said, don't talk. My head was just exploding with everything that I was trying to focus on. There's no way I could let another voice in. And his face fell. He just, I can still feel it now if I think about it. He just looked so disappointed, and he just turned around and walked away. I then spent the next few hours in and out of sleep, just going through what a bad mother I was. Just the absolute guilt of, God, I couldn't even listen to him. Surely it wasn't that hard. Surely I could have just pretended to be enthusiastic. I heard him go downstairs and talk to his dad, and that just made it worse. You know, he hasn't even got me. His dad's busy enough, and he's got to do and talk to him instead. When he read that in my book, he came back and he went, "Do you want to know what I thought?" I thought, "Oh, Mum can't listen. I'll go to your dad." And he went downstairs, and actually it was loads better showing Dad, because Dad said, "Why don't you do this? And why don't you do that?" And they had this little geeky engineering discussion and made it even better, and completely forgotten within seconds. And then I just lay in bed with the guilt.
Yeah, and then it ended up doing you much more harm, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah, because then I had the extra layers. The next time he came up and I was tired, or when he had to bring me a drink up, or he had to do something else, or he went, "I haven't got any clean clothes." Not that he was overly bothered about clean clothes. I'm sure he just wore a onesie and the same pants for weeks. I have no idea, and I'm best not thinking about that one. But then I'd be, I'm not even able to go and do the washing. I'm not allowed to provide for my children. I can't do anything. So yeah, that one thing was the trigger to what an awful mother I was, which stuck with me for so long afterwards. Even as I was starting to recover, every time I said, "I just need to stop and sit down," and I'd see the worry come back in their face, and I layered it then with that's not just worry, that's fear, that's bringing back the whole trauma, and that's bringing back what a useless mum. I beat myself up mercilessly.
Yeah, I think we're always our worst critics, aren't we, in pretty much every situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just makes this physical struggle so much harder. If we can start to notice our thinking, just jot down some of the horrible things you say to yourself. Even if you're not up to keeping a diary, jot down a few things that you say to yourself, a few labels you've got about you, and a few times you beat yourself up, and all of those things. Just write them down and then go back the next day and look at them. And go back the next day and look at them. And it will help you see, I'm really making this worse. And if that's the most that you can manage to do, hopefully it will support you in seeing what you're doing to yourself. And then maybe next time you do it, you'll go, "Doing it again." Maybe let yourself off the hook a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think certainly for me, reading you doing it made me realize that I could probably give myself an easier ride some of the time.
Good. That was the whole purpose of the book.
So yeah, I mean, the end of the book's a little bit of a cliffhanger. How are things now for you?
The end of the book wasn't supposed to be a cliffhanger. The end of the book was supposed to be, "Yay, I'm all well again." And then unfortunately, just as I'd finished it, I had another relapse. But my family's response to it was so lovely that I thought I wanted to include it, because I didn't want people to go, "Oh, well, that's all fine and well for you. You know, you're better now. I'm still stuck in this." So it was not meant to sound poor little me. It wasn't meant to be, "Oh my goodness, this is relentless, it goes on forever." It was meant to be, whatever happens, you can thrive through this. You can see the ways past it. But in answer to your question, I am fit and well now, absolutely fine, no signs of long COVID. One of the things that came from COVID was that my body saw hair dye and makeup as a toxin. So long gone is my beautiful red hair, which I've had for 25 years. So I've now embraced the grey, but I turned 50 a few weeks ago, so I'm good with that. I actually like my grey hair, and I've discovered that since getting rid of red hair, actually red hair didn't suit me. It made me look really pale, and because I'd had it for 25 years, I just thought I was pale. I've never looked so healthy.
Yeah, you look amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, nobody in the podcast will be able to see, but...
Oh, well, if you look me up on LinkedIn, I've got a few headshots, and the photographer made me look fantastic, even without makeup. No makeup. We can do it. It's been quite liberating, that one, for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's really great to hear, because I think, like you said earlier, we don't really hear the recovery stories so much, because anybody who has recovered, they don't want to stay in a support group. Why would they want to be there?
They don't want that reminder. They want to move on and go back to their healthy ways. They want to put that all behind them, which is completely understandable. But unfortunately, you've got a group then, a Facebook support group that's then left just with people who are saying, "Does anyone ever get better?"
Yeah, definitely. So I think definitely hearing that people have recovered, that they have got through it, and also that, you were really ill, other people are feeling really ill, and, they can see that actually, you have come through that. Because I think a lot of people, certainly they think, oh, well, if you've recovered, you weren't as ill as I am. But actually, I think you are.
I think I was. Now, looking back, I think I was. I think the dishcloth is testament to that, and the fact that all the fruit rotted. So yes, I am back to functioning properly again now. But it's very different. My life is very different now as a result of COVID, but in a positive way.
Yeah, that's great that you've turned it into something positive.
To me, COVID was a gift, which to anyone that's still going through it, they're now cursing me for that. Having come out of it, I can see it was a real eye-opener to me. And we hear that people make life-changing decisions once they've been through some kind of a trauma. I definitely did. My perspective has changed on what matters. I look after me first. That's the thing I've learned. Being a mum, I've got 4 children. My oldest is 28, so I feel like I've been a mum all my life. I've never put me first. It's always been, mums, dads will always say my children come first. And I get that, and I can't argue with that, because right up until COVID, I said exactly the same. Now, I put me first. I have to put me first. Genuinely put me first. I do things every day that bring me joy and remind me how brilliant I am and how important and valued I am. And when I do that, it gives other people permission to do that too. So it just provides more joy in your life.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's awesome.
I think the key thing for long COVID, for me, for anybody that's going through it now, it is about obviously buy my book. Obviously, it's available on Amazon. If it will give you some insight. I've had a lot of people have come back and said, I really relate to that. I do think the support groups are invaluable. I didn't want to join one. I resisted it for several months because I didn't want to go into a moan fest that would just bring me down and remind me how ill I was. But actually, hearing things from other people that are going through the same experience is supportive. Even little things like somebody posted, does anybody else really struggle with showers? Like hailstones on your skin. And I instantly went, yeah, that's me. It hurts when I have a shower. And yet I'd still been having showers thinking I just need to get through this. And as soon as I read that and realized this is another long COVID symptom, because there are millions, it seems, I gave myself to have a bath instead, which was so much nicer. And a nice warm bath with Epsom salts in the morning is one of my special treats for me now. But yeah, that communication is key, and getting help when you need it. Giving yourself permission to do what you need to do rather than fighting it. And the more you learn about it, and that's not just Google and horror stories, but the more you learn about how to manage it, the more you will come up with opportunities to look after yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's very, very invaluable advice there. Well, thank you so much for chatting to me today. I will make sure that links to your LinkedIn and also to your book are in the show notes, so hopefully people will be interested to go and check them out. I really enjoyed the book, so I hope other people will too.
Good.
So, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of my guests, and to you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it, or at least found it useful. The Long COVID podcast is entirely self-produced and self-funded. I'm doing all of this myself. If you're able to, please go to buymeacoffee.com/longcovidpod to help me cover the costs of hosting the podcast. Please look out for the next episode of the Long COVID podcast. It's available on all the usual podcast hosting things. And do get in touch